We're coming up on the opening bell. Let's get to some early movers that we're watching today. Uber's one of them. The share's up 8.3%, riding a high as trips during the quarter grew by 24% year over year. That's despite the uncertain economic outlook. The company also expecting to expand profitability again in the second quarter. And Brad, I was really struck that, we're seeing the company fire on both cylinders here in terms of the two parts of its business, right? Mobility bookings up 40%. Delivery bookings up 8%, obviously smaller growth in the delivery segment, but both of them growing and both of them beating estimates.
Yeah, if there's one weak spot that investors are bypassing here, clearly it's the freight. Freight was down over 20%. I'm pulling up the exact number here, but freight took a big hit in that most recent quarter here for Uber. But a good thing for Uber, they got me to rely on when it comes to getting those trips and ordering a lot of takeout and delivery here. Revenue growing 29% year over year, as you mentioned there. It comes out to $8.8 billion here. And it was interesting what Dara Khosrowshahi had said, and we mentioned this on the onset of the show. There you're seeing those freight numbers that I mentioned a moment ago. But they significantly accelerated the Q1 trip growth to 24% from 19% last quarter, Dara saying, with mobility trip growth of 32%, citing improved earner and consumer engagement here. Now, on the earner engagement, think about all of the deliverers or the drivers, the deliverers of persons, if you will. At the end of the day, it's still going to come down how they're engaging that community, continuing to get more signups. They also teased, I think, even more scaling of the platform, which if you're juxtaposing a company like an Uber, which has a much more rounded out business, both in scale globally, as well as some of the features that it offers through deliveries that it manages for food and things of that nature versus a Lyft. I think this is where Uber has really continued to tell that story, where Lyft is kind of falling behind in some of the investor sentiment here, at least in how these shares have been approached by investors on the street as well, Jules.
Yeah, just one other thing to mention here. We've been talking all about the demand side. I want to talk a little bit about the profitability side, too, because the company posted a net loss, right, but also had positive EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, $761 million. That's better than estimated. And Khosrowshahi made some comments about headcount, that it was down because of some of the cuts that they have done. He said, we now expect to hold headcount flat to down through the coming quarters. So sort of participating in this bigger move towards rationalization or just more discipline, if you will, on headcount and on expenses. So that feeding through to that EBITDA and also probably helping matters when it comes to how the stock is performing this morning. So something to keep in mind as well. So many companies that we've heard from who have been cutting heads during this earnings season, Brad.